On a basketball court, Kai's team receives the basketball and Kai scores a 2-pointer goal. He then cheerfully looks at his family members who are there to support him. In the Narita family, the two brothers flex their muscles and show their big guns to each other. They discuss their third brother Ren, who is not training his muscles with them, but rather he is cooped up inside his room to do some research. One of the brothers comments that he is wasting away Narita's blood, and the other one defends him that at least Ren is some kind of a genius researcher. Meanwhile, Ren remains cooped up in his room, so his robot named Tama tells him that Kai's match is happening and whether he wants to watch it. Ren tells Tama that it's his job to push the people towards their potential, and he thinks to himself that he knew Kai had potential the moment he saw him on the screen. Many years ago in the past, Ren and Tama look for an athlete which has some specific qualities, and as Ren goes through a bunch of clips, he comes across a specific clip in which a middle school Kai is making a dodgeball shot with artificial legs. Ren tells his robot that para-athletes are always brimming with potential, and that Kai is perfectly using his legs to make the shot. He tells Tama to investigate him, and afterwards they reach a wheelchair basketball trial match in search of Kai. At the basketball court, Kai's older brother Shu plays basketball with some dudes and scores a goal, which makes Kai comment that he wants to hurry up and learn the game to win as well. He then apologizes to his mom for making such outrageous wishes, and later he and Shu pass the basketball between each other. Shu dribbles the ball and throws it to Kai, who tries to score a goal, but the ball doesn't go through the rim. Kai then congratulates Shu on participating in the prefectural tournament, and afterwards his mom leaves to fetch her car. He then practices basketball on his own and questions himself how he can become more like Shu. Just then, Ren makes his grand entry and asks him whether he knows about wheelchair basketball. Behind him, the official wheelchair basketball team slides in the basketball court, and Ren tells Kai that he is the man who will open up new doors of potential for him. He tells him that his running shot was splendid, but he doesn't belong there, and he then starts touching his abs like a creep. He comments that he has a stable core, and Kai asks him what he meant by wheelchair basketball, so Ren shows him the current game which is being played on the court. At the basketball court, two teams play basketball on wheelchairs and even clash their wheelchairs against each other to retrieve the ball. One of the players even falls down when he crashes his wheelchair, and Ren tells Kai that this is the court where he belongs. One of the players then notices Kai's artificial legs, so he inquires whether he plays and then invites him to play basketball with them. Kai takes off his fancy legs and straps himself to a wheelchair to practice. To his surprise, he easily spins on his wheelchair, but fails to score a goal, and another player ends up scoring instead. Ren tells him that he doesn't have to be like his brother since they are both different, and that with his talent he can take on wheelchair basketball instead. Kai then declares that he wants to try wheelchair basketball, and Ren comments that he expects to see him on the world stage. At the Narita Muscle Laboratory, Tama tells Ren that Kai has been training hard even if he can only move in a straight line in his wheelchair. He advises Ren to focus on one task at a time, and just then, the weight ball falls on Ren's foot. At the basketball court, Kai practices using his wheelchair, and the coach asks him whether he wants to try racing with everyone else. He agrees, while another player, Yuuki, decides to sabotage Kai's running. The race begins as Kai puts more effort to wheel ahead, but to his surprise the other two players speed ahead even more without much difficulty. Ren watches all of this on a screen and thinks that Kai can do much better, while Yuuki decides to become serious, so he races ahead even more. Kai tries to follow him but falls down with his wheelchair, and Ren comments that he needs to get up on his own if he really wants to go to the world stage. Tama comments that Ren would have quit already if it was him, and just then, Kai musters up enough strength and gets up. Soon the coach announces a 10-minute break, and Yuuki tells Kai that he wanted to show how he was much better than him to make him quit wheelchair basketball. Another player named Hayato tells Yuuki to shut his yapping mouth, and that even Yuuki was allowed to touch the ball just recently. He tells Kai that it took Yuuki 6 months just to learn how to properly use the wheelchair, and that it was very extraordinary for him to get up by himself when he fell. He tells Kai to have more faith in his skills, but this doesn't convince him, and he keeps mopping even when he is back at home. At home, he eats dinner with Shu, who gobbles down food like a starved man, and he asks Kai how his practice is going. He tells him that it's really hard, so his mom tells him to quit if he is struggling a lot. Shu then reminds him that his biggest strength is that he is always looking ahead and never giving up. He even drops 2 words of wisdom that guys who don't give up are always the strongest, so this motivates Kai, and he decides to give basketball his best again. One day at the basketball court, Kai tries to race ahead as usual, but he still gets left behind because he can't speed up properly. He wonders what he should do differently, and Ren tells him that only willpower won't help him out. He hands him Tama and tells him to throw it at him. He throws it at his face and Ren reveals that he uses a lot of power to throw the ball, so if he uses the same amount of power with his wheelchair by getting into the right position, he can improve. Kai then notices another player who is leaning ahead to move his wheelchair, which makes him realize that he was just using the raw strength of his arms to move the chair, but in fact he should lean ahead when he is using his wheelchair to increase its speed. During practice he tests this theory out and ends up passing by another player with greater speed. He then requests his coach to let him touch the basketball now, and when he replies that it's still too soon for him, Kai argues that he already has practice in handling the basketball. The coach then tells him to have a racing match with Yuuki in 3 months and that he can touch the basketball if he wins. Kai argues with him to have a match in 1 month only, and Yuuki tells him that he will make him quit basketball. During the next month, Kai practices moving uphill and even around obstacles in the park. He races with some other players in which he wins, and just then, Yuuki also races with some players and wins at a very high speed. Kai then collides with another player, due to which he almost falls, but he uses his strength to regain his balance. He apologizes to the other player. Meanwhile, Ren, who is watching this on a screen, notices that Kai used his core muscles to stabilize himself. He comments that many wheelchair players cannot go very far because they may even have spinal injuries, but Kai's core is not only unharmed but it's also very flexible, and he can use it to improve further. Afterwards, Kai thinks about the move he pulled off and he wonders how he managed to do it. His mom calls him out for dinner and Shu asks him whether he thinks he will win in the race, which is happening the next day. He replies that he doesn't know but he won't give up. The next day, the coach tells them that whoever runs the fastest around the court 5 times will win, and as both the players take their position, Yuuki begins whining that he will win. The race begins with both players starting around the same time, and as they both rush ahead, Yuuki starts speeding ahead of Kai by a couple notches. Kai then tries to pass him at a corner, but Yuuki just pushes his wheelchair off the course and continues racing ahead. Ren comments that the race may be too tough for a beginner like Kai, but he can use this chance to unveil his potential. As the race continues, Yuuki keeps speeding ahead of Kai, and Kai thinks he cannot win since Yuuki can easily overtake him at the turns too. The last lap begins as Kai rushes ahead and he doesn't slow down even when a corner approaches. Just as before, when they both turn around the corners, Yuuki pushes his wheelchair, but this time Kai uses the strength of his core to twist the wheelchair around even at a high speed. He starts losing his balance, so he uses more strength to stabilize himself, and soon he crosses the finish line at a lead while he leaves Yuuki behind. Yuuki then congratulates him and tells him that they should work harder to make their team better. A few months later, the coach announces to the team that they have a match against a team called Red Arrows, who are also the winner of regional preliminaries. The match with Red Arrows begins shortly, in which its team members notice that Kai is really fast. One of Kai's team members passes a ball to him, but he fails to receive it properly, and Yuuki recovers the ball instead. The ball then gets passed around again till it comes back to Kai, and when he tries to pass it to someone else, one of Red Arrow's players named Idu steals the ball instead. Kai notices that Idu is a really good player, due to which up next he tries to rush through the court with the ball by himself rather than passing the ball, so Idu takes this chance and pushes against Kai, which makes him fall and steals the ball away from him. He tells him that he can't win in wheelchair basketball with speed alone, and the match ends later on with Red Arrows as the winner. Later, Ren tells Kai that he needs to have a proper sense of the ball if he wants to improve. The coach tells the team that matchups for the regional preliminaries have been decided, and that for their first match they will be having a match against Red Arrows. He then announces the regulars, which include Hayato, Yuuki and Kai too, and Yuuki tells Kai to not drag him down. Kai thinks about how he couldn't win against Red Arrows before, so he asks Hayato and Yuuki to practice with him more, and Hayato even comments that he will work again on a training plan. Kai tells the others about Ren's advice, so Hayato tells him to focus more on his basics to get a feeling of the ball. He then throws Kai the ball, which he fails to grab, and he tells him to focus on practicing with his left hand, which has fewer fingers than normal. They begin practicing with Kai, in which they make passes to him, but he still fails to receive a pass properly. Meanwhile, Ren also stalks Kai from the outside. Following his teammates' advice, Kai keeps holding the ball to get a feel of it, and his mom tells him to practice outside the house. He then loses control of the ball and asks her whether this is his limit, since he doesn't improve despite practicing a lot. He keeps whining to her about being a burden on his team, so she tells him that he is already exceeding her expectations by being so enthusiastic about basketball. She advises him to never give up even if he faces a wall or two, and that she knows he can do it since he is a stubborn little fellow. The next day, both teams greet each other, and Idu tells Kai that he did not think he would show up after such a humiliating defeat last time. Yuuki tells him to just ignore Aidu, and another Red Arrows player tells Yuuki to shut up and let Aidu talk. Aidu tells the team that all of their best players are playing in the match, so they are out of their league. The match begins, and from the start Red Arrows takes the ball. The ball is then passed to one of their huge players, who bulldozes his way through everyone and scores a basket. Aidu gets the ball next, so Kai chases him and he makes a fancy spin in his wheelchair. Kai chases after him again, and he asks Kai to show him the result of his training since he cannot see any improvement. He then passes the ball to another player who easily scores a goal. Aidu tells the team that they have grown in a short time, but they have reached their limit, and that wheelchair basketball isn't a sport you can excel in quickly. Red Arrow's score keeps increasing, and Aidu tells Kai to give up, but as always Kai argues that only he will define his limits. Aidu then tries to steal the ball from his left hand, which is his weakness, but at the last moment Kai hits the ball with his hand, which makes it fly and then rushes towards the goal. The other players rush to stop him, so Yuuki and Hayato block Red Arrow's players while Kai scores a basket. The whole audience erupts with cheering, and Ren then leaves the court without watching the end. He asks Tama about the possible outcome of the match, so Tama tells him that the chances of winning are 99% for Red Arrows. Ren replies that even if the Blue Wings team is not winning, the match itself is a win for Kai. An athlete named Suguru runs on his prosthetic leg and jumps over a bar, which amazes Ren. In the present, Ren wakes up suddenly and falls down like a drunken man. Tama tells him that he has been cooped up in his room for more than 3 days, due to which his health is bad, and he argues that he needs to finish his work to open up somebody's potential. At a national high school handball match, the ball gets tossed around till Suguru's teammates pass the ball to him and he throws it into the net, which earns him a score. After the match, he walks home with his friend where they discuss the next upcoming national tournament, and he flexes that he will come first in the national tournament too. She tells him to stop capping and even reminds him to arrive on time for practice the next morning. They both then go their separate ways, and soon his friend AI notices an ambulance rushing to the street through which Suguru had gone. The ambulance arrives at the accident scene, and AI later rushes to the hospital where Suguru has been hospitalized. His parents tell her that somebody ran a red light which caused the accident, and Suguru will be alright since he is strong. The operation then finishes, and the doctor tells them that although Suguru's life is out of danger, he won't be able to live a normal life. Later AI stays by Suguru the whole night, and in the morning Suguru tells her he is lucky to be alive. He yaps about how he thought he could jump out of the way of the vehicle since he had such athleticism, and that he cannot play handball anymore since leg has been cut off. He also apologizes to AI for not being able to take her to the nationals anymore. Afterwards, AI brings him the school notes that she took for him and also complains about the Japanese class teacher to him. He tells her not to visit him daily since she is the handball club manager, and since she must have a lot of things to do. She replies that she has already talked to the club members about the situation, and he apologizes for causing the club members worry. He then starts wondering what he will do with his life since he was only ever good at sports, and just then, Ren appears out of nowhere. He declares that whenever a person loses an opportunity, new opportunities open up for him, and he then introduces himself as the man who opens up other people's potential. He tells Suguru that he knows all about him and how he was such an ace player who got chosen for the nationals too. Suguru calls him disgusting for looking into his business and shares the obvious fact that he can't play handball anymore, so Ren tells him again that he can have another possibility. He shows them a video in which a person with an artificial leg participates in a 100 meters race, and he tells them that the person in the video has the fastest running record in high school for a 100 meters race. In the video, the player speeds ahead and crosses the finish line first, which amazes Suguru. Ren tells him that even if he cannot play handball, he can still run and jump, and that he has a lot of potential inside of him. Suguru begins to think differently about his whole situation, and Ren comments that it is his choice to either give up on sports or to take another path. Suguru then declares that he will never give up on sports even if he has to hop around like a bunny in distress. Suguru practices walking on an artificial leg in the hospital, and just when his attendant advises him not to hurry, he falls down. The attendant tells him to increase his distance slowly, and he tells him that the world is waiting for him. He reveals that he wants to break the Japanese record first, so he has to work fast, and they both then resume his practice. Afterwards, he and AI walk outside the hospital, and she compliments his walking skills, but he argues that he is still walking too slow. She tells him to take it slow since he will end up exhausting his body. Suguru doesn't listen to her yapping. Instead, he tells her that he is the future superstar and that he can't reach the world stage if he gets exhausted by something so trivial. Of course AI understands his ambitions, and just then an old woman crosses Suguru, so he starts racing with her. Later Ren shows him a special kind of artificial leg which is used in competition and which has a huge reaction from the ground when you press on it. Suguru presses on the leg which makes it bounce a little, and he flexes to AI that he looks really cool. Ren then makes him get on a treadmill to test the leg out, and as the treadmill starts, Suguru notices that his artificial leg is really jumpy. Ren then increases the speed of the treadmill, and to their surprise, Suguru keeps up with the speed as he begins running on the treadmill. Ren comments that Suguru is quick to get a feel of the new leg and that he is naturally talented. 3 months later they all gather at a racing course where Suguru officially has to start practicing, and Ren tells him that the official Japanese record for a 100 meters race is around 11 seconds, which pumps Suguru up. Ren then advises him that actual running is very different from the treadmill, and that he should be cautious and not injure himself. Suguru then gets ready for the race, and when Tama announces the start, he makes a run for it. He tries his best, and AI records his timing, which has even crossed the 11 seconds mark. Suguru then finishes his race and asks AI to tell him his timings. She keeps hesitating, so he asks her again, and she reveals that his timing was around 20 seconds. Ren comments that it's an average timing for a quick run, which makes Suguru triggered, so he yells at Ren and asks him why he called him talented before, since he is a useless fool. Ren reminds him that he can be good at running and jumping both, and AI then suggests that Suguru should try out jumping. Suguru whines about not being good enough, so AI pesters him to try out jumping till he finally reluctantly agrees. Ren comments to Tama that things are going according to his plan, and just then, Suguru and AI begin to try out the high jumping sport. Suguru makes a jump over a bar, and to Ren's surprise, he successfully does it without touching the bar. Tama reveals that the bar was set at 171 centimeters high, which is 5 centimeters higher than the high school record for the T44 high jump. Suguru digests this shocking news that he just beat the official jumping high school record, and he then starts flexing that starts like him are born differently, since he beat a record casually without any practice. He keeps yapping his mouth off about being a star, while Ren realizes that Suguru has found a place where he belongs. At the Para-Athletics Championships venue, Suguru tells himself to calm down and to do his jump as he always does. AI observes him from a side, and after missing on his first 2 tries, he goes ahead for his third and final try to jump over 1.6 meters bar. He makes a jump for it, but he ends up touching the bar again, due to which he fails to set a record. Tama asks Ren whether he can give Suguru any hint or advice, and Ren replies that high jump sports is 10% physical and 90% mental sport. He comments that it would be too easy if he could just get it done with just a hint, and at the stadium, Suguru whines about not being able to break a record. AI advises him not to get upset, and he tells her that he has been weight training and watching athletic videos for so long, but he is still unable to break his record after his very first jump. AI tells him that he must be out of form, since he did manage to break his record already once, but he still keeps up his whining, which seems to be his favorite sport. Even Ren wonders why Suguru cannot break the record, since he has the athletic build for it, and when he watches the footage of his performance, he notices that his artificial leg seems a little bent. He then has a eureka moment as he realizes that Suguru's leg may not be fitting him properly, due to which he is not performing right. Ren immediately gets to work, while Suguru keeps up his weightlifting so that he can build more muscles to jump higher. He and AI then go through articles related to high jumping, and AI points out to him that the former high jump record holder used to use an everyday use artificial leg. Meanwhile, Ren works on the artificial leg for Suguru and even dozes off in the middle of his work. Suguru tries to make a high jump with an artificial leg that's used in normal life, but he still touches the bar, and he comments that the leg is heavier than his custom-made leg. Ren then arrives on the scene and explains to Suguru that Western athletes mostly focus on vertical jumps, but Suguru's quality is his approach speed. He explains that if he increases his approach speed, he can convert the momentum into vertical jumping when he takes off, and that sometime during his training, he outgrew his artificial leg, due to which his speed also never increased. He then gives him the artificial leg and wonders how fast he can get used to the new leg. Suguru then puts on his new leg and comments that the leg isn't bending like before. Ren tells him to give it a try, so Suguru starts running on it, and to his surprise he runs even faster than usual. He realizes that he feels like his pre-accident self when he used to play handball with his teammates, but due to his high speed, he keeps running and fails to make a proper turn for his high jump. He tells Ren that he cannot make turns properly with his new leg, and Ren tells him that if he can bring out the best use of his speed, He can produce an explosive jumping force. Suguru remains hesitant and Ren tells him that the Breakers Cup is coming up in 2 months, so he wants him to jump over 1.9 meters before the championship. Suguru keeps whining about being useless, so Ren assures him that he excelled in his first jump due to his advanced physical abilities, and now that he has trained him much harder, he can jump even higher now. He then advises him to rely less on his left leg and to start using his artificial leg more. Suguru wakes up in the morning and vows to bring back the feeling of his past handball days. He then starts his practice, in which he tries to get more used to his artificial leg, and to do that, he races up the stairs and climbs down. He keeps hopping around like a bunny to get more accustomed to his leg, and the next time he attempts to do a high jump, he successfully jumps over a 1.85 meters bar. He tells AI that he has started succeeding again, but he still keeps failing sometimes, and that he doesn't know what he should do differently to keep consistently succeeding. AI then notices a bunch of footsteps on the mat below, and just then Ren also appears out of nowhere with Tama. He tells Suguru that his takeoff for the high jump is not proper, since the steps he takes with his artificial leg just before the high jump are not stable. He advises him to time his rhythm to make accurate jumps and to get more used to his leg if he wants to get the timing perfectly. Suguru takes his advice and resumes his practice to perfect his takeoff. He keeps messing up his jumps, which make him realize that he messes up his timings if he focuses too much on the takeoff, and he messes up his takeoff if he focuses only on his timing. AI recalls that Suguru faced a similar problem when he used to initially practice for handball, and that he used to miss his steps because he couldn't get the rhythm right. In the past, Suguru does his whining as usual, and he notices AI and other girls admiring the senior players who are good at handball. This pisses him off, so he takes off running and does a high jump in anger to make AI look at him. The ball doesn't reach the goal, but AI recalls that high jump shots became a quality of Suguru's playing after that. In the present, she asks Suguru how he suddenly became good at jump shots, which make him realize that he still wants AI to keep looking at him. He then makes a run for it and does a high jump successfully, only because he wants to clap the girl. He tells AI that he will tell her the reason behind his jumps after the championships, and she wishes him good luck. At the championships, Suguru takes on a 2 meters high jump, and he thinks about how the jump seems difficult even if he wants his loved ones to keep looking at him. He thinks about how AI and Ren have taken care of him during the past couple of months, and he recalls Ren's advice telling him to get more used to his artificial leg. Suddenly, he feels a special connection with his artificial leg, so he starts running towards the bar. He makes a jump for it and ultimately succeeds in jumping over the 2 meters bar. Afterwards, AI congratulates him by calling him a star of the championship, and she then asks him his secret behind his high jumps. He confesses his feelings to her, and as they both get lovey-dovey, Ren, who was waiting for an opening to congratulate Suguru, keeps hiding behind the mattress because he doesn't want to disturb the lovebirds. He decides to leave and even tells Tama to not disturb the pair by casually going near them. A goalball match begins somewhere in which all the players are blindfolded, and Ren watches it play out from the audience. The referee tells everyone to quiet down, and the match begins as one of the players throws the ball in the court. In the present, at the Morika East Hospital, Ren visits his hospitalized teacher Katsuda and asks him why he seems to have so much energy. He gives him a ball, and just when Ren asks him what it is, 2 girls come to visit Katsuda in his room. Katsuda introduces them as Mary and Kaioyuko and tells him that they are coming from a local blind school. He reveals that they belong to a goalball club which he manages, and then drops the bomb on Ren's head that he will be managing the club as a substitute supervisor till he remains hospitalized due to his illness. Ren begins to complain, and Katsuda reminds him that it's a request from his former teacher, so he cannot possibly refuse. Ren reluctantly agrees and introduces himself to Mary and Kaioyuko. He even brings out Tama, and just then, he notices someone standing outside the hospital room. He calls the girl out and asks her whether she has come to visit Katsuda, but she hesitates, and in the end she runs away without coming inside. Afterwards, Tama and Ren discuss how Ren is going to be the club's supervisor, and Tama comments that goalball cannot be that hard since the players are blindfolded. Ren explains that the goalball sport consists of all the players who have been blindfolded, and all the noisy appliances are taken from the spectators so that the players can fully focus on the game. The next day, Ren visits the club officially, and the girls inform him that the club only has 2 members, meaning they don't have full members. Ren decides to blindfold himself to play with the girls, and right at the start, he throws the ball in the wrong direction. Next up, for the defense training, he tries defending the goal, but before he can take his position, one of the girls scores a goal. He then whines to them that he cannot play the sport since he cannot even tell where he is going, and that surprisingly he gets really dizzy when he is blindfolded. The girls agree with him and he asks them whether anyone else might be interested in joining the club. The girls take him to a park where they show him a girl named Emi who was the same girl who had visited the hospital and ran away. They tell him that Emi is Katsuda's granddaughter and that she isn't interested in playing goalball. In fact, his grandfather's love for the sport has the opposite effect on her. One of the girls comments that Emi is always complaining about not having anything to do, and Ren decides to give it a shot by inviting her. They then meet up with Emi and Ren introduces himself to her as the new supervisor. He asks her whether she wants to join, but she immediately rejects his offer and even asks him why she should play the sport when her eyesight is not good. He tells her that he recently tried playing the sport for the first time too because Katsuda pushed him into it, and that if Emi joins the club, she may discover something important that she has not been able to see. He explains that maybe it is something she cannot see, but it is something she may find in her heart. After such an Oscar-level cringe speech, the girls request Emi to join the club again, and Ren tells her that she can be the manager instead since they have a match the next day. Emi agrees to become the manager, and the next day right before the match starts, Ren starts complaining about having a stomachache. He then declares that he cannot play the match at any cost. Emi decides to step in place of Ren to play goalball, and she asks her teammates to explain the rules to her. They inform her that goalball consists of each team having 3 members, and in which each member takes turns to throw the ball towards the opponent's goals. Since the players all have to be wearing shades, they all cannot see where the ball is, and the players get a penalty if they touch their eye cover. The girls then have to play the match by listening to the sound of the ball, and since the surrounding is silent due to the referee's instructions, the girls can play with the aid of the ball's sound. Mary then shows her the pose which is used in the match, and Kaioyuko then gives a demo by throwing the ball towards Mary, which she stops by stretching out her body. Emi realizes that the goal ball has to be stopped by letting it hit the body, and the girls then ask her to do some practice on her own before the match. They make her wear the blindfold and station her in front of the goal. One of the girls then slowly rolls the ball towards her, and although Emi hears its sound, the bill hits her and takes her by surprise. Mary explains to her that she has to throw the ball in a way so that it touches the team area as well as the neutral area. Emi then rolls the ball towards Kaioyuko, which she catches easily, and Kaioyuko then asks her to catch the ball next. She rolls it towards her, so this time Emi keenly listens to its sound and jumps towards the sound of the ball, due to which she stops the ball. This surprises the girls since it is difficult to catch the ball on the first try, while Ren observes that his plan is turning out to be successful, even though it was pretty crazy to make her play so suddenly. The match begins and the referee tells everyone to turn off their devices to avoid any noise. Emi decides to focus on the defense, and Mary tells her that she's leaning too closely to her. She advises her to touch the court line to get an idea of her position on the court, and the referee tells them to quiet down. One of the opponents then throws a ball at them, which Mary manages to block, and she throws the ball back towards the goal. Up next, the opponent team throws the ball towards Emi, and before she can react, the ball passes near her, and they score a goal. The game continues as both teams keep trying to score a goal, and Emi gets asked to throw the ball next. She gets into her position, but suddenly the referee announces a penalty because she held the ball longer for 10 seconds, which is not allowed. As a result, she has to defend the goal all by herself, and the other team scores another goal due to this. The other team realizes that Emi is just a noob player, so they keep throwing the ball at her side, due to which Mary keeps going out of her way to defend the ball. Emi also realizes that the team is struggling because of her, and when the ball comes her way the next time, she blocks it. Ren yells at her to throw the ball, and the team gets another penalty because of his interference. The game continues and Emi manages to block several shots. She even tries to make a shot, but she accidentally throws the ball outside the court. The game ends with them losing, and afterwards Emi tells the girls that she wants to try out goalball again. The next day, Ren tells the girls that they pathetically lost the match even though it was his fault, and he welcomes Emi into the team. She explains how she couldn't even block the ball properly, and he advises her to get a sense of the court first as a starting point. He compliments the court sense of Mary and Kaioyuko, and asks them to give advice to Emi, so Mary explains that she has divided the court into 9 parts to get some kind of image into her brain. Tama then projects a similar picture on the court, and based on Mary's advice, Emi moves around the court line according to the 9 divided parts to get a better understanding of her position on the court. She then puts on her blindfold, and Ren asks her to move to the 1.5 meters position, so she moves around, but to her surprise, Tama tells her she has moved to a 4.5 meters position instead. She makes her way to the goal post by putting out her arm, and Mary then makes her move to the middle of the court with a blindfold to improve her muscle memory, since she doesn't know which direction she is going in with the blindfold on. The girls keep helping Emi practice and move around so that she improves her court sense, and in the end Emi apologizes to them for taking up all their time since they could not even practice properly. Afterwards, Emi studies different goalball techniques in her class, and she thinks about how she wants to throw the ball with a running approach next time. Since she does not want to take up more of the other girls' time, she thinks of an idea, and next time she ties herself with a rope to practice goalball by herself. She ends up getting pulled back by the rope, and the girls ask her to take it slowly, one step at a time. They all practice some more, and in the end Emi realizes how hard it is to play goalball without any sight. Ren then asks her about her progress and tells her to work on her muscle memory by practicing more. He then advises the team to work on their defense and teamwork, so the girls all assemble in front of the goal post. To give a demo, he asks Mary which position he is standing at, and he then shakes the ball. Mary immediately tells him his position, and he keeps changing position, but Mary predicts his position accurately each time. He compliments Mary's skills since she has excellent goalball skills, and explains that since Mary has small height, she can only defend a small portion of the court. He goes on that Kaio has a large stature which she can use to easily block opponents' shots, and that goalball is a team sport in which they all have to coordinate together. He then makes them practice their defense tactics by throwing the ball at them again and again, which the girls defend. Meanwhile, he advises Emi not to be too jumpy and not to leave a gap between herself and Mary. Ren moves to the right, and Mary advises the others to move to the right to block his shot, but to be alert for any diagonal shot. Ren then makes a diagonal throw, and to everyone's surprise Emi blocks it. She even throws it back at him in a hurry, and Ren realizes that the team is finally starting to come together for a tournament. Afterwards, the girls thank Emi for completing their team, and she tells them that she has finally found something to do. Emi practices a unique spinning throw tactic, and later she explains to the group that she wants to do a spinning throw in which the spinning motion of the ball makes the bell stick to the side of the ball, due to which it becomes harder to read the ball trajectory from the opponent's point of view. Ren tells her that he knows only a limited number of female players who have mastered such a throw, even if he includes those who have represented Japan in international matches, but Emi still argues with him that she wants to try the spinning throw. She argues that she wants to test out her capabilities, and Ren realizes that she has come a long way from before, so he agrees to support her at all costs. He tells her that even though they have a match coming soon, her efforts may produce some results. Later, he advises Emi to practice her throwing pose for the spin throw without the ball. To do this, he guides her to move on the court line without losing balance and to practice throwing the ball without falling down. He also tells her to practice the spin throw over her head, and she follows his instructions to the dot. The girls then pick her up to take her to the venue, and she tells them that she can successfully make the shot after every 10th try. She apologizes for not being able to perfect her ultimate move, but she assures them that she will give her best effort. They reach the match's venue, where they realize that they are competing against the same team which they played against before. Soon the referee announces to start the match and tells everyone to quiet down. The match begins, and this time the girls play much better as their team play matches the other team. Both teams keep trying to score a goal, and Emi throws a fast shot, but their opponent blocks it. She realizes that their normal shots won't go through because the other team's defense is too good, and just then, the other team scores a goal. The halftime gets announced, and Mary tells Emi that she trusts in her spin throw. She tells her that she will pass her the ball once she receives it in the second half, and even Kaio tells her to have faith in her practice. The second half resumes, and both teams again try their best to score a goal. Time keeps passing by without any goal, and just when Mary blocks a goal, she grabs the ball and passes it to Emi. She then attempts a spin throw by moving the ball with a fast motion and scores a goal. The audience cheers for her, and with the scores tied, both teams decide to score another goal to win the match in the remaining minutes. Soon the match ends, and after the match the girls come across Katsuda, who keeps crying like a toddler. Ren reveals that Katsuda was watching the match and that he has been crying non-stop. He also congratulates the girls for winning their first match and tells Tama that they are going back home since their actual supervisor has now returned. Ren practices his swimming skills in a newly installed weird pool in his lab, and Tama doesn't miss the chance to roast his Michael Phelps level skills. Ren explains that he is just testing the equipment for the next project and asks Tama if he found an athlete that they can use for their project. Tama suggests using a little kid named Taku who only has one arm, but still wins races against normal people. They go to Taku's club to see him in action, and Ren is impressed how he is ahead of all the normal people even with one arm. He explains how para-swimming really puts a physique's worth to the test, and Taku's coach is impressed by his knowledge, so Ren tries to show off, but Tama brings him back to earth by exposing how good he is at swimming. The coach starts fangirling over Taku and says that he is so talented that it's hard to even guide him on anything. Ren explains how everyone has different bodies in para-swimming, so they all find the most suitable style for them, while some even create new styles. The coach reveals how Taku learned swimming on his own and has gotten so good at it that only his friend Tomo is at his level. The coach sighs that the two of them aren't very competitive and are only interested in swimming for fun. Downstairs, Taku and Tomo are in a world of their own, talking about how they want to eat ice cream, but they notice Ren staring at them with a creepy smile, so they decide to go swim again. The coach suggests that Ren should guide Taku and reveals that there is a club competition a week later where Ren can watch the two kids compete. The fangirl even reveals how Taku has won 4 consecutive medals and will most likely win the next competition too. Ren is about to leave when Tama suggests talking with Taku, but Ren says that he just wants to see the competition for now. In the locker room, Taku complains about why he has to compete because he just wants to swim for fun. A week later, the competition happens, and as predicted, Taku wins first place while Tomo wins second. Ren is satisfied with how talented Taku is, so he goes to talk to them and yaps about how he can help bloom Taku's full talent as a para-athlete. They start walking away as it's not their cup of tea, and Taku says that he isn't interested in that kind of stuff, which sounds very strange. Ren asks him why he swims, and he answers that he swims for fun. Ren asks Tomo if he thinks the same, and Tomo agrees, so Ren says that it's good to have fun, but they won't be able to have fun one day due to their talents, and he leaves after saying that. Later, he tells Tama that people stop having fun when they start losing, and they should just keep an eye on Taku for now. A few years go by and Taku the winner is longer winning against his peers now. The good old coach asks Tomo to come to the office, so Tomo asks Taku to wait for a bit, but the frustrated Taku leaves the pool early where he encounters Ren again. Ren asks him if he is still having fun, but Taku doesn't have a clear answer, so Ren says that he can help make the full use of Taku's talent. Taku, the regular old one-armed swimmer, thinks about how he likes swimming, especially with his friend Tomo, but recalls how he has stopped winning recently, so he asks Ren to help him win again so swimming can be fun for him. Ren starts love-bombing Taku by telling him how he has talent to stand on the world stage of para-swimming, but Taku isn't impressed. Ren explains that when they were small, muscle power didn't mean much. That's how he was able to win thanks to his good form without his arm, but as they grow up, muscle power plays a bigger role. Taku questions if he can really win on the world stage of para-swimming, and Ren reassures him of victory like a perfect con man. Ren says that the key to victory is in his left arm, but it seems hard to hold a key with that arm. With the help of Tama, they visually present how everything depends on the rhythm of his strokes, more specifically on how he must spin his left arm at a lower speed. They practice the theory first in their sus lab and put things into action by actually seeing if it really does increase his speed. To Taku's surprise, he manages to create a personal record following the technique told by Ren. By things don't end there as Ren brings the focus to the legs. Leg day is the worst day, but Taku has no other choice, while Ren explains that strong legs will help him accelerate faster, which will give him an advantage in short races. Ren reveals that they're aiming for the nationals that are in 3 months, which surprises Taku, but Ren explains that they need to reach the qualifying standard first for that. Taku continues to work on his legs, and they finally decide to test it in a practice race, but Taku forgets how he used to swim. He disappears like a princess after getting frustrated, and Tomo and Ren encounter each other. Tomo says that he's worried that Taku might be hurt because he lost to him and might actually quit swimming. Ren remarks that if Taku really does quit over a loss, then that's his worth, but reminds Tomo to be more confident about his best friend. Tomo requests them not to tell Taku that he was worried about him. Ren finds the princess in the park, who is sulking that he can't reach the world stage. Ren and Tama explain that due to the increase in mass of the legs, Taku just lost his balance for a while, and will need to sink his head to balance it out. He also hands Taku an artificial arm so he can improve his left side upper body muscles. Ren yaps about how it's time to grow stronger and says some motivational words before crashing onto the ground, but no minus aura for him. Taku gets all fired up again and his practice resumes. After lots of practice, he finally manages to regain his balance and even creates a new personal record. Tama states that he might be able to reach the national time record of the Japanese para-swimming team at this rate. Sometimes later, Tomo is in school when he reads an article about Taku setting a new national record, while Taku is having a hard time texting Tomo due to the gap that erupted in their friendship for no real reason. The World Para-Swimming competition begins and all the para-swimmers prepare to race as Taku takes a look at the favorite to win, Johnson, who also has only one arm like Taku. The race begins and Johnson takes the lead at the start, followed closely by Taku, who tries his best to close the gap, but Johnson doesn't let him get close. In the final lap, Taku loses focus and ends up finishing in 4th place instead of 2nd, which sends him off the podium. On the plane back, the princess starts sulking again while thinking about how he and Johnson have such a large gap even though they have the same proportions. He thinks about what's the difference between them, and quite obviously it's a skill issue. Taku dreams about the Paris Swimming Championship again, in which all the swimmers disappear out of nowhere, but suddenly Johnson appears like the clown from it before swimming away. Tama brings him back to reality, and Ren tells him that someone who is unmatched at the national level shouldn't be so sad. He accurately guesses that Taku must be thinking about Johnson like it's some kind of unrequited love story. Taku explains that Johnson was ahead of him by a large gap, which he really didn't need to tell anyone. He says that it felt like he was swimming alone, and Ren says that it's good to have a rival like Johnson, but Taku says that Johnson is too good to be called his rival. Ren starts yapping about how it feels lonely aiming for the top all alone, and things would have been better if there was someone by his side who was just as fast as him. Taku thinks that Ren is referring to himself, which sounds more like a joke, and Ren makes Taku compete with Tomo. The two friends reunite after a while, and the coach reveals that Tomo was chosen in the national team recently. Ren reveals that Tomo would be a good rival for Taku, so they should do a 2-lap race right now. They race it out and Tomo wins by a small margin, but Ren suggests that they race again, but they will start in the water, no diving. They race again and Taku wins this time, which shocks him, so he asks Tomo if he went easy on him. Ren explains that the reason Taku lost before was because Tomo gained a lead at the start, so he asks Tomo to show them his start again. Taku notices that the water doesn't splash that much when Tomo starts, and he thinks about how the race would have turned out against Johnson if they were equal at the start. Ren says that Taku and Tomo should help each other improve so they can both aim for the #1 spot together. They both start practicing together, which looks more like a pool date, and they continue to advise each other on what to improve. The practice ends for the day and they leave together, where Taku apologizes to Tomo for running from him. They both reconcile and decide to swim together again like they're dating or something. Another international competition is held again and Taku sees his long-lost lover, Johnson, again. He recalls the dream he had previously and Johnson catches him staring, so he just passes him a smile. The 50-meter race is about to begin, in which Johnson and Taku are set to compete in. The swimmers get ready and they jump into the water as soon as the buzzer goes off. Taku manages to get a good start, but Johnson is still in the lead, but the gap is very small this time. Ren says that it was actually Johnson who messed up his start, that's why the gap is so small. Taku and Johnson go neck to neck and Taku thinks about how he'll win this time so he can go to the finals and also stand at the podium, but Johnson manages to win the race by a very small lead while Taku was overtaken at the last second, dropping to 3rd place. Taku gets very frustrated while thinking that he just lost his chance of going into the finals, but the rankings are released and it turns out that Taku got into the final at the 5th place. In the locker room, Taku thinks about how he messed up the goal touch because he was thinking too much about the finals. He thinks about how he has never messed up the goal touch up till now, and maybe this sulking after every loss is a routine thing now. He starts shaking out of frustration and sees Johnson sitting weirdly on a chair, who is also shaking. The two crackheads look at each other before smiling and Taku realizes that Johnson is also anxious. He tells himself not to think about the past too much and starts wondering what he can do to win, also thinking about all the advice he got from Tomo. The final is about to begin and Ren tells Tomo that they can't keep swimming together for fun anymore. Ren says that Tomo was supporting Taku while they were practicing together, and they notice how Taku is changing his starting position, using Tomo's starting position instead. The buzzer goes off and the swimmers jump straight in with Taku in the lead this time, while Johnson closely follows him from behind. Ren is impressed with how wonderfully Taku started and Taku gives it his all to win. He pulls ahead of Johnson and manages to get the win. Sometimes later, he's sitting on a swing while looking at a photo from their award ceremony, and he eats ice cream with Tomo. They talk about how they used to eat ice cream after practice when they were kids. Taku talks about how he only used to have ice cream in his mind when they used to swim before, but now things have changed, which makes him sad, but change is not a bad thing. They start talking about some deep stuff and Tomo says that things can change, but his love for ice cream will never change. Newsflash: ice cream means Taku. He asks Taku if he still has fun while swimming and Taku replies with a yes. Back in Ren's office, Ren reveals that he is preparing for new research, that's why he needs new equipment, and Tama expresses sadness that the pool is gone as Ren was finally getting better at swimming, but it turns out to be sarcasm. As he is about to leave, Tama asks him where he is going, and he obviously replies that he is going to open the door to someone's potential. That's it for today, my fellow men of culture. Like and subscribe the channel for more plot-filled recaps.